Hi, I'm your host, Anand J. Sukadia, and this is the Limitless One Podcast. Join me on this journey as I interview the most inspirational souls who are tapping into their limitless blueprint on a mental, physical, and spiritual level to thrive in uncertain times. If you feel you are so much more than just this body, just this life, and want to tap into your limitless potential, you're in the right place. Here we go, starseeds. What does it truly mean to awaken your inner potential and navigate the complexities of spiritual growth in today's world? In this episode of the Limitless One podcast, we dive deep into the transformative power of Kundalini Activation, explore the shadows of spiritual narcissism, and discuss the collective spiritual awakening unfolding on our planet. Joining us is Anastasia Armanova, an internationally respected Kundalini Activation master and visionary teacher with over 6 years in energy work. As the founder of the Purity Sensation School, she holds trainings in the US, Russia, and Europe, and leads transformative workshops and retreats worldwide, sharing her unique approach to energetic activation and consciousness expansion with participants everywhere. Get ready for a profound conversation that will inspire and enlighten. So, welcome back to the Limitless One podcast, Anastasia. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for invitation. I'm very excited. Was it 4 years ago?
4 years ago, the first one, I believe so. And we've been talking for several months now about doing a second one, and the stars aligned where you're in New York and we were able to get this in person. I know this is something that we both been wanting to do in-person interview, and you have so much to share. And I just want to kind of hear your story because you're such a profound, inspirational figure. We've been friends for at least 4 or 5 years now. And I just seen the evolution of how you grow and how you share your gifts with the world. And it's highly inspiring. So I want to give the floor to you. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your story up until now.
Up until now, my goodness.
Yeah. Preface, we did do that interview 4 years ago. So I highly suggest everybody check that interview out because it'll give you a background even deeper into her beautiful story.
Oh my goodness. 4 years ago, I would say I was still going through that intense, deep healing process because I just come back from another country, was separated with my ex-husband, and you caught me on time when I was even skinnier, so much like depleted. And thank you for interviewing me back then, and you'll see the difference where I am now. So thank you very much for this invitation. I'm grateful for your podcast to spread this knowledge, and I love what you do. We've been friends for almost 6 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, longer. 6 years ago when I just started to do my classes, I remember it was East Village, somewhere in a studio. I remember your experience. It was awesome. Yeah, where do I start telling about myself? I work with Kundalini for over 6 years now. Have been trained, initiated in the States. I was one of the first facilitators in the United States, brought it to Russia, to different countries. And my highest joy and excitement to work with people from different backgrounds, different nationalities. And I always joke that living in New York City, I didn't have to travel the world to do it in person. I could have just stayed there and meet different nationalities, cultures, but I was able to travel to Europe, to Dubai, to Asia, to Latin America, all over the States, and bringing that beautiful, impactful modality.
That's beautiful. Last time, I think it was a year ago, you came and we had lunch, and you told me, you know what, Anand, I have this vision. I'm going to be speaking in front of thousands of people around the world, and you're making it a reality. So, God bless you for holding that vision and to crystallizing it into the 3D reality, because you have so many gifts that come from the 5D, but you're able to implement it and bring it to this reality, which is so needed here. So before we get even deeper, tell us a little bit about what Kundalini is and maybe the difference between Kundalini Activation, and the process that you've created.
So Kundalini is an ancient word that existed for thousands of years. Some people call it Holy Spirit, God molecule. Some people call it prana, but it's not really correct. When your Kundalini is rising, you cannot confuse this process, right? Even in activation, when people receive the beautiful energy through a transmission, it's not a guarantee that their Kundalini will be rising. Sometimes it's just tingling and all these beautiful sensations that occurs and provoke some feelings, some movement, some mental stories, right? When people are processing. It's one of the variation of the process of the Kundalini activation. But when it's actually rising in your central channel, some people ask me, did I have the full-blown awakening? Did it happen to me? And I'm like, if you had it, you would not ask me. You totally cannot confuse it. It's the most powerful, intense, profound experience that can lead to a major transformation, usually like it's a midlife crisis. It can happen spontaneous with people. But in the work that I do in activation through transmission, it kind of sets the perfect field of electromagnetic energy. So it's under guidance of the higher intelligence, higher consciousness, and people are experiencing whatever they experience with so much support. And I call it Kundalini Universal, Kundalini Cosmic, Kundalini Cosmic Mother, Galactic Mother, that feminine essence that unconditionally loves each child, right? And it supports through ups and downs, rather when you have it on your own and you don't know the guidance system, you don't know any support, how to, absolutely, because it can be very traumatic experience. It happens more in a gentle, more in a settling way, in the activation with the facilitator, properly initiated and trained.
Yeah. I think the way to describe it is, you're basically charging up the body with electricity, the cosmic electricity that's all around in the ether. And when I came to your first event, I was a little bit skeptical, I'm not going to lie. I've never had that kind of profound experience other than when I did psychedelics or ayahuasca or something like that. But with your initiation, essentially, so, I saw you have somebody lay down in the front to like demonstrate. I'm like, okay, what is going on here? It looks like this person is having a full-on orgasm, the way that she's moving, the way she's gyrating, all this stuff. And then I'm like, is this a sexual thing?
Right.
Like what's going on? Is there some spirit going through her body? But then when I actually felt it, so it was activated more so with like the breath work initially that we were doing. The music that you had was really powerful. And then when you came by and you started, there's light touches that you do, whether on the feet or on the crown. And I just felt this like jolt of energy moving through my body. And it's almost like a priming process where initially it's very gentle. It goes through, it's like kind of moving a lot of the energy, moving. And then all of a sudden it gets more intense. And then I'm able to activate it on my own. And ever since that first experience that I had with you, when I do breath work, I'm able to activate it on my own. And this was 6 years ago.
Absolutely.
So it really, once you're open in your channels, then it's there for you as long as you're engaging in the process.
Engaging, maintaining, and some people are so sensitive. Of course, you can go to breath work, you can go to meditation, you can go to yoga, sound healing. As long as your mind is distracted and it's relaxed, it's kind of not interfering with the process, you're going to this experience, you can get into there. Although I would still say that in environments in the field with the facilitator, where you don't do it on your own, it's not a self-generating process. You surrender 100% and it can take you deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can't be done with the mind. It has to be, you have to let go of whatever the thinking is, whatever the story is about what this process is, and just allow that energy to move through you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that consciousness clicking with your higher self. And it's ultimate heart expansion.
Yeah. Incredible. So how many people have you facilitated so far in your career now?
Oh, wow. I would say thousands of people. I don't even count It was some time when I have a photographic memory, and I used to remember each person's experience to the point they were like amazed. How do you remember? It was 4 years ago. Even yours, I still remember right there. And I remember
I was one of the OG, the first ones.
And then I passed like that threshold when I don't remember people's names any longer, because it has been so many like Russian, English, different country retreats, trainings now. But it's just wonderful, and to be able to see the progress and the dynamics of how people changing their lives, how like cliche it sounds, but it's a beautiful expansion, different evolution.
Absolutely. And the one thing when we initially met, the one thing we connected most on is like, I love the fact that you're trying to learn because you're a lifelong learner, right? So you go to all different types of things. You're an NLP practitioner. You've done Tony Robbins events. So it's like the 3D, like warrior power, all that kind of stuff, but also the meditation and going to different spiritual practices. And CAP was kind of, or Kundalini Activation was one of the major ones that kind of like, opened you up. So how would you say all of your learnings in your past kind of came into this technique that you've actually curated yourself, and how unique it is compared to the other Kundalini activities?
Thank you very much for that question. It's interesting that when I was initiated into Kundalini, I had already have done so much work for 7 years since my first awakening in 2012. I was just like, oh my God, I want to learn all these retreats, all these spiritual teachers, Bashar, Paul Selig, Abraham Hicks. I was traveling to Hawaii to swim with dolphins, to connect to this consciousness. Then NLP training in New York, Ericksonian hypnosis, nutrition, coaching, and diving deep into all layers of my being, physical body, right? Detoxification, subconsciousness with all the NLP techniques that can affect with the instantaneous change, breakthrough, and then kind of purifying and detoxing all of these subtle bodies. And when I came to the class and the training of Kundalini Activation, it was a cherry on top of my cake, because I already had a cake. I worked on my being so thoroughly that it was just nothing that compared ever before. And I used to say that I went to Bashar, I went to Paul Selig. I was one of the first row sitters that amazed what they do. It's always fascinating how they channel, and I was fascinated and was thinking, what do they feel? I would like to feel how they feel in the process of channeling, because I know Bashar, their anchor, actually falls asleep during the session, right? And then he like, was it good? Okay, he come back.
Yeah, no recollection of what happened.
Exactly. Yeah. But Paul Selig, the way he explains, his consciousness is kind of like in the back of the corner of the room. He can participate. So this process was fascinating for me, but I never felt it. And I was in anticipation and search and looking, mystical experience. Where is it? I want to feel it. Yeah. And then I came to the first class of CAP with Bennett Wong, like done in 2019. And it was just boom. That life is never the same after this first experience, when you feel the jolt of the energy and you you feel, there is something more profound that you ever learned. And I would say all of these beautiful techniques, and Tony Robbins and even Joe Dispenza. So Tony Robbins, I would say it's the self development, right?
It's working in the 3D
reality.
Mindset, pushing
Joe
forward,
Dispenza, I would say Joe Dispenza is in 4D. It's already transitioning. Kundalini Activation is in 5D. It takes people beyond the physical, beyond the meditation. So even when people go right now to Joe Dispenza retreats, they can have this spontaneous. So it's supportive, right? But it started 6 years ago when we were tapping and we were imprinting that codes of Kundalini Activation. So it's spreading like a ripple effect all over the world. Yeah, and the difference with what I do now with Kundalini Activation by Purity Sensation is that I created a school where I train facilitators, and I'm handpicking and I'm very choosy, I would say, whom I choose to train, because it's not about only the skill of Kundalini Activation. They might be powerful in facilitating, but it's the qualification. Are they qualified to be in the highest integrity with the the work they do and the being that they are, human being first, right? Because you can go to facilitate, you can be a teacher, a master, guru, but then there is a bit of separation and gap in your day-to-day life, right? How many people out there are not completely integrated? And for me, for a long time, it was such a big question. How come people who are healers, who are having tremendous chi? And so it was always my big question, how those people have potential of enormous chi energy. They can do telekinesis. And how come as the human being, they're still kind of catching up, right? You cannot say like, wow, this is being from the uppercase letter H, a human being. You can look up to them, right? Unfortunately, I haven't met many who have been out there and they're really in congruency with the ethics, spiritual ethics, and with the work they bring to the world.
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic because that does come up a lot lately. And, you know, I talk to so many people that maybe joined an ashram or joined some kind of meditation group or go to different events by different gurus, and they're very attracted to the message. And then they realize over time, it could take years. And then they find out that the messenger has been corrupted in many ways.
Yes.
Whether it's through the love of money, through the love of women, whatever. And also it could be the opposite for women to go after men, right? So why do you think that people with such profound abilities to communicate these very high level topics, very high level spiritual things are falling? Sometimes they're falling in the direction of, you know, becoming less than congruent in where they are.
And you know, it's so important, especially for these 2 years, people that have been exposed, people that have these statuses and these responsibilities guiding thousands and millions of people. You know, I've got to know one of the independent journalists, Miss Caulfield, and she exposes them all, men and women. And I was looking up to those people and how good that it's out there and you can have your discernment about that. But me going through my personal story, what I went through and living in ashram and founding this ashram together with my ex-husband and guiding community, seeing not just from the far, but being like diving deep into this system. It's very unfortunate that we don't have a lot of high spiritual teachers out there. And the thing I wanted to say, it's about temptations. It's about the soul maturity. How do we choose them? How do we go up, like search for these people? It should be time tested, because when I got into the story with my ex, it was not right away. It was a beautiful energy and so much love and support that he wanted to give to people. So it was a beautiful idea. But through time testing and seeing actually who this person is with his personal issues and addictions, I always say, if you have some small things here and there about yourself, right? Self-destructive moments, and it's only vector goes into you. Whatever you need to work on, you can catch up. But when the vectors go into hurt other human beings, it's already against the law of the universe.
It's a karmic thing.
It's a violence. It's the violation.
Yeah. Can you tell us, is it okay? Can we go into your story?
Absolutely.
Maybe describe it so, you know, the audience can understand what happened.
So I was being introduced to one spiritual teacher, and a beautiful setting, it was a beautiful already organization. And I came to this, how you say, to that story, seeing that it's an established organization. People are working, supporting from all over the world. He has a following and he's doing this beautiful impact. And I was already trained in Kundalini Activation. He works with different energy, but he works in the same field. It was a dream come true for me personally, because I was developing and I knew that I will attract, I want to see as my other significant other, a teacher already. And it was a beautiful match, love from the first sight. And it was a promise for me that it's going to be just me and him. doing that together. And I was seeing so many women in his environment. And I was asking him in the beginning, are you sure you're going to be solid in your decision and not tempted? Because I see that. And if you tell me, yes, it's just me and you, we can proceed. And so it was promised, but he did not keep the promise. Very soon after we got married. And I just got into like very traumatic experience with him for almost 1 year. With the COVID happening, we were separated, we got together. We found an ashram together in Italy. And when my being was so depleted, and how he was unfaithful husband. And I was like in such a confusion and such in disbelief, how a being that can help to heal and have good intentions be like having those addictions. What temptation was sex, money, or fame, right? And the bigger he was growing, he could not tolerate these temptations. And when it was so much for me, so that I was getting skinny, I was dying inside. I cannot even recall that information. It doesn't really affect me any longer.
That version of you.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 years ago. But I had to leave that environment because I saw how many lies, how many, how could he look into the eyes of his community and lie about things. And I was embarrassed for this person. And when I decided to leave, it was the final for me that I had to block the person. It was a narcissistic abuse, mental abuse. And I had to recover and hire even a therapist. And imagine me being an NLP trained, coaching, all of these modalities that I could fix myself very fast. But I was so lost, psychologically abused, that I had to have an expert to help me to get out. And now a paradox that he's still growing. He's still out there. He's trying to come to America. He married another American woman, just had a baby, trying to come here to do what he does, still manipulating and using women and lying and this type of the route.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate. Looking back on it from this angle, from this most empowered version of yourself, what do you think? Why do you think your soul chose this experience?
You know, it's a beautiful, deep question, because I can say that for the whole 2024, I was having a lot of conversation with elders, with people in spiritual world, and I didn't. It's not that I needed the guidance. I just wanted to see what people feel, because I had a conflict inside. Should I talk, expose on a bigger scale, or should I not? Because on a spiritual level, everything has a place, right? His program, whatever comes through him, being that trickster for the spiritual evolution, and kind of trick you into and he uses the Jesus and Magdalena form. So imagine how many people are losing themselves and thinking, this is special, I'm the chosen one, I need to help. It's bigger than me. I was one of them. I was in a conflict because I understood that it's not that I required that experience for my evolution, but it was a breakdown to break through. It was kind of liberation for me. Did I need that for my spiritual development? I don't know. Some people would say, yes, I needed that. I'm not aware of that. Maybe it was a side track for me as a trickster game, because sometimes when you're developing it and they can see you growing, you can impact the world, they kind of like sidetrack you.
For sure.
Introducing some tests. So it might be that, or maybe I did need that experience for my next level of the expansion, because it was the tremendous, humongous, hell-like pain for me personally. Or should I not expose, because I kind of can take away women's experience if they need to go through that. Because if we put it out there, information on Reddit, or create a website and start uploading the stories, maybe those stories can help those ones who are still just getting into spiritual world. And if it was they had some experiences on a minor with narcissistic abuse. And if they can see for themselves, oh, this person went through that one guru, same experience, a lot of women, so they can have a choice. Otherwise, you just dive deep into, and the narcissists are masterful in manipulation and charismatic, and the energy, the sexual energy, they make you feel you're number one in the world. So it's a very slippery. But as I'm going to that field, being a teacher myself, I cannot just not speak about it because I'm a woman. And we were being taken advantage for a long time. And if I went through that, whatever I need to do, I'm going to put it out there, and it's going to be up to them, their decision. I chose not to go warlike, justice, hatred, or punishment. It's not in my frequency. It's just the truth, to bring it up.
Absolutely.
And then you make your choice.
Yeah, taking the higher road. Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that. I know it wasn't an easy experience, but I see how you grew and you've elevated yourself so much more energetically because of the experience. And then recently in November, you had a podcast with a dear friend of yours who went through a very similar experience. Can you tell us a little bit about that conversation you guys had?
Oh, yeah. You can even maybe, if it's
we can link
it definitely, because it was traumatic for me personally in the March of last year to find out a similar story about my teacher who trained me in Kundalini Activation process, because I looked so highly on him and have so much respect for what he brought to the world, how he created that category of how people who are in capacity to work with this energy, right? How can we build and grow through this realm? But it was heartbreaking. It was very intense for me to know that he's in the same category as my ex-husband, which is Bikram yoga, Kundalini yogi bhajan, Kundalini yoga, all of that, kind of like copy-paste manual, narcissistic mental abuse, being a spiritual teacher in that position. And so when I found out about it, I remember how it was painful for me to walk away from the similar scenario. And I was thinking that we should do something about it, because no one ever, maybe that some people who went through similar experiences, but no one in the community that Max was doing, in the community of CAP, people who are not close to the story and who are not aware, or the ones who were next to these teachers, no one else will get it in the way that I've been in her shoes. And it was, I don't know what was activated in me to fly to Bali. I was doing the retreat in there, but she was in Bali at that moment, and to grab her hand and say, let's do it. We can write a book about it, but it would take a long time to release two separate stories, similar scenario. But let's do a podcast. Let's speak. And it was not edited. We didn't have any plan. We didn't have any questions. It was just raw story about how it was for me, how it was for her, to bring up awareness to that. Because the amount of women who reached out to her, who reached out to me with expressing their gratitude that we are exposing it, we're bringing the truth to it. And some women who are much older and have similar experiences, narcissistic abuse with their ex, their husband at this moment. Somebody is going through it now, still in separation moment. So it was very impactful to help, to inspire, to encourage that it's not the end. Although when you're going through this abuse, there is no one in the surrounding that gets you, because you think, am I going crazy? Is he right? Am I wrong? Nobody, everybody can take his side, right? And you cannot even there is no support as much. And then once you go through and you liberate it and you can speak about it, that it's empowering other women.
Absolutely. Yeah. It seems like there's a copy paste manual that's going on around a lot. And, I think that a couple of things I want to mention is we're all on this journey to kind of expand our souls, especially the people that listen to this podcast, your community, my community, right? So it's almost like a pendulum. So this pendulum starts maybe all the way on one range. One end of the spectrum is that somebody has no confidence and no ability and no connection with the source. And then they're seeking. And then obviously you learn from either books, ancient texts and manuals, or you learn from teachers, right? So you're going, and you're learning more and more and more. And then maybe you become one of these, these advisors or gurus. And then the pendulum swings all the way to narcissism is on the other level, right? So the question for you, and this is something that I've talked about with a lot of close friends of mine who have a very good perspective on things, is like, is it necessary for somebody to have to take that swing down towards the narcissism? Is there traps there? Is there any way to fully express your limitless self without getting to a place where you're almost being burnt by the sun because you're so close?
Exactly. It's like, as much as I used to think that it's kind of necessary, the soul requires to be pressed down until it says no more, that's enough. But remember about the trickster energy, the temptation or the test to see if you are still solid in your way. So now spending time with my teacher, with my galactic mentor, and being trained by her for 3 weeks, I realize more and more that I maybe did not even need that experience for my evolution, because they can say, oh, you needed that to grow, to liberate.
Yeah.
But be aware of the trickster, right? So nobody knows how it would go, because I was just on top of the highest. I was in Zen. I was having Kundalini massive experiences in the training, and I was going and it was growing. But then sidetrack.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that, like,
Yeah. So the ego of ourselves thinking that this is the best path ever, and then figuring out, okay, really the power lies within us. And it's like there's a certain point where people who are in the self-development journey is that we keep going and learning from other people and see other people maybe on this pedestal, but then realizing at some point you learn a little bit too much about the inner workings, about what's happening behind the curtain, and then you realize, oh shit, this energy is being given to these individuals. So that's how they're able to operate and grow, by having this energy, right, from everyone they draw from. And then instead, at some point, we have to realize, okay, when we reflect that back within ourselves, that's how we can really get to the place of that full awareness and growth.
And learning. Absolutely. Yeah. And when I was married to a guru, sitting by his side and seeing that he's not really doing the work of the real guru, authentic, because I always think the job of the guru or a teacher is, when the person comes to you, to turn them back towards themselves, to encourage, to empower, because everyone has keys. You just need to guide them. It's not about even teaching, the guidance. But when he was not doing it, but created the dependency that he's the one, he's the chosen one, he has all these privileges, and he is more connected to God. No one is more connected to God, but everyone is equal, right? Not everybody is made the same, but everyone has the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I think that's what, like, there's a lot of resentment towards organized religion, because they're always acting as a middleman to get to God, right? And then here we have some new age people coming and saying, oh no, you have the ability, but wait, you got to pay me this course in order for you to ascend to that level. So it's like, it's almost recycling the same old, programs from before. But in reality, is anyone who's empowering you and telling you, hey, listen, you are the one who can get to the place that you need to get to, versus the person that says, yeah, you got to go through me in order to
the third party between you and God. If there is something, a school, modality,
a course, whatever it is,
a course, a teacher, right? The most authentic teacher is the one who is aside, and it's always there. And you know that I can always, if I go through something, can always reach out, like a supervisor, like a mentor, because they've been there. Maybe not because of the age and the wisdom from the time, but life experiences. Maybe sometimes they're younger, but they have the soul maturity to guide someone who is older, but on the path. And as long as they are not creating that dependency, that's the authentic teacher. that go, fly. When I train people in my school, I always say, like, you spreading your wings. It's not me, fly, do things like me and you're going to be like me. You do you, go free. When you have a question, when you have an insight, I'm always here. Reach out whenever you need, but go.
Yeah.
Free. No one should be in between you and that consciousness.
Absolutely. So what do people look for in terms of, if they're looking for an advisor, a mentor, someone who's really living in alignment? What are some of the red flags they should be looking out for? And then what are some of the attributes of this teacher that they can be, obviously trying to attract?
Like an old beautiful times, they say, those teachers, those gurus, those real legitimate people who know, they usually don't talk a lot.
Yeah.
They don't usually advertise themselves. They don't do commercials to come to me. So even going through someone else's social media, to me, it's evident already how they carry themselves. And then when you are very sensitive to energies, you can feel that authenticity, because sometimes they can speak beautiful, very eloquent message about what it is, whatever the teaching is. But if there is no love frequency in it, this is also tricky, because my ex was full on unconditional love pouring through his being. And it can be also tricky as well. Then time tests, then little things through experiences, seeing how they respond, seeing how they handle, maintain, how they, in their lifestyle, not only teaching those beautiful modalities, how they are implementing, integrating those experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, because what's attractive about many people that are at a level where they have a big following is that they're very, not assertive, but very confident in their message.
Yeah.
And I think that comes across great versus somebody who's a little bit more hesitant or not sure of themselves. Right. So it's like, that level of confidence obviously brings people in, and they talk so matter of fact, like, oh, this person is so matter of fact that it must be true.
Right.
And then you realize, there could be a level of missing compassion in what they're trying to share with the rest of the world.
Follow the heart. You should see, you should feel the open heart at the teacher, this persona. Interesting thing that usually in our collective, we still operate in a level that people want to follow a leader, and those leaders are in the narcissistic patterns, right? They lead, they're strong in that. And usually the collective is following because they think, oh, there is some power in that. They lead, we will go, we'll flow. We will go after them. But all of this authentic people, they don't have strong narcissistic leadership, authoritarian, because we are
not very good at business, the organizational skills and finding a team to kind of lead to get to a level where you can have good production and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And sometimes where we're going to less is more. When those teachers can be very subtle and that's not self-promoting, but you can be in their presence and you're like, oh my God, and you can see it's naturally growing with them. But it's kind of new way. They don't have to be an authoritarian, strong leaders do like this, and because it kind of creates the structure, that system, an old way,
It's like a lead funnel, almost, like all these leads are coming through,
exactly,
and it's like churn and burn, right?
Exactly. And the deeper I go into my own development as a teacher, as the human being, the less I want to be on that social media.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about social. You mentioned it, and it obviously has a role in the ability to communicate to a larger audience. Somebody maybe 30 years ago, 20 years ago, you could only find the people in your area, but now you have the ability to talk to millions of people around the world. So obviously there's a double-edged sword here. So what is your take on social, and especially in that spiritual space? Like what is your view on it when you...
First of all, it's about the method of the promoting, right? Any class, a service, whatever you do, you can do it in push way or pull way. So you can really put it out there and aggressively playing on people's pains, attract them. It's still kind of there, and people are buying it. People are sticking for it. I am more of the here's my class, and whoever needs to, whoever is in that resonance, they will find out about that class. And for me, it's about the balance, because playing and testing, seeing how sometimes you are so often and frequent on your stories, you posting your stories, then you start thinking what to post, and it takes away from your day-to-day life in the present moment. So it's like a dependency. Once you start being a content generator, you go away from your essence. And I'm really strict about it. I see how it impacts my system. And being on the phone, although we love technology, it's our part of the life. We cannot go away from it. We can go to be in the forest for some time, but then we come back and use it for our advantage. But being with the phone in your hand and feeling the frequencies from the phone and knowing what's happening behind, mind control, and especially with those people who are having the codes to impact many. We're kind of like under supervision, our path. So all of these temptations first, but then tests and misguidance is being introduced to hook us to the technology and to make life more easy. But then a lot of people start to be lazy because it's right here, right there. And we don't use the most brilliant computer in the world, our mind.
Absolutely. And, it's like when you're constantly connected to the phone, you're anchoring these feelings along with that feeling of, so the dopamine rushes when people respond to your stories or your posts or something like that. And at the same time, there's people that have a very low importance to it. They post and then they have a great business. Like they don't have any attachment to the outcome. And one thing I see about you is that, you have great energetics when it comes to that, because anytime I see your events, they're all like sold out. You have different countries, different events. You always have people with like big open hearts and big open smiles, but it's not like you're posting constantly or sending tons of newsletters or anything like that.
I don't even send newsletters at all.
Yeah. So tell us about the energetics behind that. What is your process when you have, say, an event and you want to share that event? Do you have people on the ground in these different cities that kind of do everything for you? Or is it that you have a following at this moment where anywhere you go, you're going to have?
There is both, right? The following, I have people and organizations who organize locally the events. They put that together. I'm so grateful for my cousin who is in Moscow and is in charge of all the logistics. I call her my brilliant mind, because she can do it all. Because once you start being in the energy work, you work with the energy, and it's a different mindset. You expand it. You are in 5D and more. So you're not really operating into the structure and logistics and time. There is no time, space. You're in quantum constantly. I sometimes forget what time zone. Yesterday I was in Arkansas. Today I am in New York. 3 weeks ago I was in Egypt. 5 weeks ago I was in California. So I'm constantly moving and creating a little bit of following in here and there. And when people are aware and people mindful, it will be in their field. And if they're not distracted by a lot of things that are happening, they will always take advantage, because they know the importance and the value of the class, for example, that I bring. So I'm specializing on the people who are more aware, not so much of just the beginners of awakening, right? Because they still need some process to even receive what I'm giving. So it makes my life easier. And it's organic. It's very natural. The energy is working in a new way. It's not about promotion. It's not about commercial. You see how people who are in a resonance in that harmonics, it's like a call, putting a clarion call, and who needs to hear that? It's a frequency. They will come.
It's beautiful the way that you operate the business, because you're in the energy of abundance, and it seems like things just go effortlessly in the events, and how the promotions and everything work.
But you have to believe in that.
Yes.
You have to live
Yes.
by this law.
Mhm.
If you have scarcity, and I never care if it's 2 people or 22 people or 52 people.
The work has to be done.
The work is done to 100%. If I have sold out retreat, or I don't have, I'm still going and I'm delivering, because these people are meant to receive on that time and space. And sometimes it can be more intense of the work than 100 or 200 people. Yeah, absolutely. And you're planting seeds in every single person that you are working with and activating, so that they can go out and share their light in the world. Exactly. Ripple effect. Yeah. You don't have to become a facilitator. You're working on yourself. In that energy is creating the shifts in your surroundings, your life, your work, your friends. It's inevitable. Amazing. So what is your ultimate vision that you're creating at this moment for Purity Sensation? So I have trained so far 39 people. They work with Kundalini Activation, by Purity Sensation. And next level for us would be creating courses based on their expertise. Beside the Kundalini Activation, some of them are a birth doula, a singer, to work with different modalities on the platform of Purity Sensation. And they're qualified to, they work with Kundalini Activation. It's a different qualification. Amazing. So someone who's the birth doula, for instance, is she incorporating, or he, I don't know who it is. Yeah. Are they incorporating energetics and Kundalini during birth? It's naturally happening. Yeah. Sometimes you cannot have it's on or off. It comes through naturally. I remember one of my students, she was facilitating actually the birth. And as soon as the baby was coming out, it was that tremendous energy. And she's like, what do I do? You just let it out, let it flow, because it's the divine process. And mother and the baby connecting through that. You can be working in a medical office. You can, not everyone who is trained, who is coming to the training to do Kundalini Activation work, has to leave their work and to do drastic change and do just energy work. No, you can be in a corporate world still, but making this impact. Yeah, because it's a more of an important impact, because these are people that need the most. Need the most, but also exposure to something like that. There can be a little bit different way to think, rather than just numbers, or rather than just you have to do this, this, and this, and this, and HR and all that. There's nothing wrong with bringing your heart into everyday life. And it's definitely a good virus. It's contagious. It's spreading. People in government, people in big farm, people in the finance world already being exposed, maybe by a family member, maybe by a friend, maybe by a facilitator. They came to the class, and then they go back to the environment, and it's beaming. Yeah. It's beaming, and people converting. Otherwise, it's going to be too strong of a gap of the corporate world to come to Kundalini Activation, to come to me, for example. They would think I'm too 5D, not really in here. So it's a purpose for that. Absolutely. So I want to hear about your recent travels. I've been watching the stories and everything. First, let's talk about your Egypt trip. And tell us about your intention behind going there. And you spent quite a while there. So tell us about what that was like. It's interesting with Egypt. A lot of people would think you travel. I've been asked this question quite a while. Do you feel a difference when you do Kundalini Activation in the places of where it's spiritually charged with energy? I've been to Mount Shasta. I've been to India. I've been to sacred places. But I've been to Bali. I was conducting Kundalini Activation on a crater of volcano. Wow. And it was an amazing experience. But to me personally, it's not a big difference depending of the people who are present. To do Kundalini Activation on its own, in a dungeon, underground, in a room with nothing, no windows, it's so potent on its own. To visit those places, the pyramid, the temples, the artifacts, seeing them, feeling them, is beautiful on its own. In Egypt, when I was traveling there, I was not going to get another activations, another high experience, because I have so amazing, fascinating, and mystical experiences on my own with the realm of the work that I do. I don't have this intent, more extra. What's next? So to be honest, in the Pyramid of Giza, it was the experience that it did not activate me. I activated it. It was that type of the experience. It's not arrogant, but my teacher, before I was boarding to the plane from California to fly to Cairo, she told me, there's nothing for you there. You just can come visit me in here because you'll see it's already in your system. It's already complete.
Yeah. Wow.
Beautiful place, beautiful sightseeing. My good friend, she was organizing this beautiful moving temple as a boat, beautiful boat on a Nile. We had this journey and then visiting these temples and the pyramids. Everyone has a different experience. Everyone is a different state of consciousness, right? Sometimes they're feeling so activated and charged by those sites. For me, it was my own experience.
Yeah, beautiful. And then the next experience you had was right from Egypt into Arkansas. I know that you have an amazing teacher. She'd like to remain anonymous, but whatever you can tell us about the experience and the training and some of the reasons why you ended up staying a little bit longer.
Yeah, it was such a blessing to spend time with this, the most mystical person I've ever known. You cannot find her anywhere. She has been guiding me for 9 years since I was 30 years old, predicting me all the guru's world, cap training, describing how my teacher will look like bizarre, like Nostradamus based on my natal chart. And she does astrology. It's not 3D astrology. It's a galactic astrology. And when she called me and I was in Egypt, she said, well, you had your human training as a 3D, right? What I was going through. Then you had your spiritual training for 12 years, 13 years now, since 2012. And now you're going to have your galactic training. So it's really beyond what I've known. And I would say that for 6 years of my life, when I was awakened with Kundalini experience after that training, for 6 years, it was a complete story that I did not even need, or I was not even interested to learn anything more. It was so amazing when you feel like complete. You don't have a question. You don't have longing. It's you, God, and the experience. Yeah. And then since that few weeks now, another window opened up for me. It's another level of the training, and I now consume information for the growth, for the development. What else I can mention about her? She is bringing and was bringing the information through her experiences from extraterrestrials and intergalactic beings, from the motherships, tracking bloodlines, tracking spiritual wars on the mind. And even 5 years ago, to me, it was like, oh my God, I don't know like how much to believe in that. But now seeing everything, the predictions that she has been channeling for 40 years of her life and putting in the bank vault for a long time. And now is being released just to certain individuals. You cannot find this information anywhere. Yeah. So say no more. I cannot even reveal that, but I'm seeing some teachers out there that they speak about the same things.
Yeah. Wow. And is there any insight you could give us in terms of the things that you're learning as to what humanity, the world is going to look like in the next couple of years?
Oh my God, this is very exciting, right? The time we're living in. I was just in September on Bashar's seminar in Sedona, Arizona, and he mentions how within 5 years, we're going to have this first encounters with the first race, right? It will be Pleiadians, how they will be blending with us. Like not everyone in the world will be able to see them, but it's going to be already like
the first wave
of contacts. And then the technology.
So 5 years from around now?
So within this frame.
Yeah.
2000, let's say 2026, 27 already.
Heard those dates as well.
Yeah. So it's one realm, then technology. It can be in and out, like either or same together. The technological realm, when people are will be choosing the route of augmenting themselves with the technology. I think it's splitting, right? Like what you resonate, how we perceive, what we generate, we're going to attract. And it's so important right now to start training yourself to be in neutrality, in the point of the view that you are not charged by negative or too positive, but you're observing and you're choosing your own reality.
Yeah, because everything is a choice. Yeah, I mean, like you can choose to start merging with machine. You can choose to stay sovereign and respect the DNA that the creator gave you, right? And
exactly, the
everybody
organic
will
evolution.
have the choice, yeah.
And everyone has a choice, and so it's up to you how you want to develop. And it's like multiverse. We're shifting. It's going to be what they say. It's splitting in two. Our Earth, I think it's more than that because of the multi-dimensionality. And speaking of multi-dimensionality, I was just in Arkansas, and one of my good friends, Mark Becker, the founder of New Life Expo, was calling me like, "Where are you? You have a class right here in Florida on the expo." How I was booked at the same time, not like really like how we are splitting. Oh my God, I was supposed to be there. I'm here. We are multidimensional, but being consciously choosing and being aware of what's happening, not judging other people's experience because it's their pre-given choice, the right to choose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I believe in beautiful things. I believe in harmonics, in ROM that we, by using technology, including it in our life, but still being anchored in our organic evolution, using our God-given, God molecule and the light body and the supernatural abilities we still don't, majority of us don't have, but we do. We just need to activate it in DNA.
Yeah, it's beautiful. One thing I read recently is like the relationship you have with the world is exactly as you see it. So whatever we want to attract, whatever we want to experience in terms of the macro or the micro is only based on our belief and our knowing that this is our reality.
Belief and the frequency.
And the frequency and matching that frequency.
I remember there was some, in New York, something was happening in Union Square, in Hell's Kitchen, and my friends, my family from Russia were calling me because they were seeing some major stuff happening in New York City. And I was in the midst of this environment and it was there. I saw it, acknowledged that, but I chose to walk away. So it did not really affect me, right? How do you feed it? You kind of be in the same environment, but you're not really affected. Maneuvering, surfing through that reality.
And the level of importance that you give it, if you're constantly putting energy towards, oh, this happened, it's so massive, and you tell everybody about it, you're creating more of that story to grow bigger and bigger.
And then you're hooked. And then you're affected by that as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So after a lifetime of spiritual learning, what would you say is the most important lesson that you've learned?
To never betray yourself. That's if I say that if there is a sin in the world, because there are no sins, but if there is a sin, it's the betraying of your authentic self. To stay true to who you are and to fully embody. That's how God knows itself, right? Through our experiences, through our creations, and be really determined to prioritize self-love, not in an egoistic way, but when your cup is full. And we've learned from different dogmas and religion that you don't have nothing to share, but you have to share with someone else. But if you energetically don't have anything, how can you even share that? So you have to take care of yourself. And then from this abundance, you can share with others.
Absolutely.
And impact others.
So beautiful. I have to say, you're one of the most, you have one of the biggest auras, these energetic auras, even though you stand maybe 5 feet. I don't know, maybe that's too high for you.
5'1",
physically, but in terms of your aura, it's massive. And I honor all the work that you're doing. I honor our friendship. You're such a kind soul. And, there's so much love that me and my wife and my son, we have towards you.
I adore you, all three of you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share. It's been 4 years in the making now, because I come back 4 years ago, back to the zero, back to the start. and where I am now, empowering others when they just begin the journey of Kundalini activation, when they just go through the training or becoming facilitators, how it impacts their life. It's an honor. It's the highest excitement that I do now.
Love it. And how can our audience learn more about you?
There's a website, puritysensation.com. I have Anastasia Armanova Instagram. I post about my stories. On my stories about my classes. I'm participating on the Expo New York upcoming weekend. This weekend okay. In New York City. I hold the trainings throughout the year, a few times in America, in the States, a few times abroad. Retreats, online classes on Thursdays and Saturdays. So it's out there. You'll find it.
Amazing.
You'll find it.
On the website, Instagram. And then the last time I asked you this question was 4 years ago on the podcast.
Yes.
And maybe it's changed since then.
Oh my God, I'm intrigued.
But what does living a limitless life mean to you?
Limitless life. It all starts from your mindset. You need to implement this idea that we can have everything, right? The way we look into the world, the belief system that we have, constantly test them and see what's serving you or not. And then in abundance, limitless. I'm limitless. I'm a limitless human being. I exist through time and space. Even time, space is no limitation. Mm-hmm. So creating this idea first, and then you will see how the world complies. The world brings you what you want, what you need. It's unlimited possibilities out there.
Love it.
Did I respond?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you.
Any answer is perfect, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anand. Thank you. All the best for you and your podcast. And I know how important it is, because there are so many different information, disinformation, and a lot of content out there. Sometimes they just feed whatever just to be frequent. Mm-hmm. I honor you, how you are operating in such high integrity.
Yeah, if there's no conversations to be had, like I'm only having conversations that inspire me.
Absolutely.
And if it takes a couple of months or whatever for me to feel that, then it's fine. I'm not doing this for any reason other than to share the amazing souls that I'm meeting and helping people see what inspiration could really look like.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.